If you're over 70 and thinking about dating again, let me start by saying this. You're not late, you're not wrong, and you're definitely not alone. More people are finding love, companionship, and meaningful relationships later in life than ever before. But here's the part most people don't talk about. Dating after 70 isn't just about romance anymore. It's also about protecting yourself, your family, and everything you've worked for. And that's exactly why lawyers quietly wish more seniors understood a few very important rules before getting involved with someone new. In this video, we're going to talk through 4 rules for dating after 70 that lawyers want you to know, but rarely explain in plain language. No legal jargon, no scare tactics, just honest, practical advice that can help you enjoy love without risking your peace of mind. And let's ease right into the first rule, because this one surprises a lot of people. Here's something most seniors don't realize until it's too late. The moment you start dating seriously, even without marriage, your finances and legal situation can quietly become vulnerable. I've seen this happen with people who never moved in together, never shared bank accounts, and never thought they were doing anything risky. They were just enjoying companionship. But from a legal standpoint, certain assumptions can start forming, especially if money, gifts, or caregiving enter the picture. So the first rule lawyers want you to understand is this: never assume that dating is legally simple just because you're not married. At this stage of life, the law often looks less at labels and more at behavior. If you're paying most of the bills, helping financially, or allowing someone to rely on you, that can create expectations that become very difficult to unwind later. I once heard an attorney say, "Love doesn't confuse the law, people do." And that's painfully accurate. This doesn't mean you shouldn't be generous or caring. It simply means you need to stay clear-eyed. If you're helping someone financially, even casually, make sure you're doing it consciously and comfortably, not out of pressure or fear of losing them. Romance should feel warm, not stressful. If money starts creating tension or confusion, that's a sign to pause, not push forward. Now, let's gently shift to the second rule, because this one protects not just you, but your children and grandchildren as well. Many seniors believe their wills and estate plans are set in stone, but dating can quietly shake those foundations in ways most people never expect. Here's the truth lawyers see all the time. When a new partner enters your life, family dynamics change, even if no one says it out loud. Adult children may worry about influence, finances, or future caregiving decisions, and courts sometimes look at late-life relationships very closely if disputes arise later, especially if changes to wills or beneficiaries happen during a new relationship. So the second rule is this: keep your legal documents updated and independent of romantic pressure. This doesn't mean rushing to change anything. In fact, it often means doing the opposite. It means resisting sudden decisions and making sure any changes you do make are clearly your own, made calmly, and ideally reviewed with a professional who has no connection to your partner. I want you to picture this scenario. A couple dates for a few years. One partner passes away unexpectedly. The surviving partner believes certain promises were made, but nothing was written down. The family believes something else entirely. That's when lawyers get involved. And trust me, no one wins emotionally in those situations. A little clarity now prevents a lot of pain later. And let me say this gently, because it matters. Protecting yourself legally does not mean you don't trust your partner. It means you respect yourself and the life you've built. Healthy relationships can handle boundaries. Unhealthy ones can't. Before we continue, if this kind of honest, protective guidance is helpful to you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us reach more seniors who want to live fully, wisely, and confidently at every stage of life, especially when it comes to decisions that really matter. Now, as we move forward, things get even more interesting, because once emotions deepen and routines start blending, the lines between dating and dependency can blur faster than most people expect. That's where the next rule comes in, and it's one that lawyers pay very close attention to when things go wrong. As relationships deepen later in life, Something subtle often happens without anyone planning it. One person starts helping a little more, driving to appointments, managing paperwork, picking up prescriptions. It feels natural, even loving. But here's the mini hook most people never see coming. The moment care enters the relationship, the law may stop seeing you as just dating. This brings us to the next rule lawyers wish seniors understood much earlier. Be very careful when romance slowly turns into caregiving. Not because caring is wrong, but because it can quietly change legal expectations. I've heard attorneys describe this as the invisible line. You don't feel yourself crossing it, but once you do, it can be very hard to step back. When one partner becomes emotionally or physically dependent on the other, decisions start carrying more weight. Who manages the finances? Who speaks to doctors? Who makes choices if something goes wrong? If those roles are taken on informally, without clear boundaries, courts can later interpret that as influence, responsibility, or even control, and that can put the caregiving partner under scrutiny, especially if assets or medical decisions are involved. Imagine two people in their 70s. They don't live together, but one begins helping the other daily. Over time, friends and family see them as inseparable. If something unexpected happens, questions arise. Was there pressure? Was consent clear? Were decisions truly independent? These are not accusations anyone wants hanging over a loving relationship, and yet they happen more often than you'd think. The simple protective move here is to keep roles clear. Romance and caregiving can coexist, but they shouldn't quietly merge without thought. If medical or financial help becomes regular, it's wise to involve professionals, even for small things. That way, love stays love and responsibility stays clearly defined. Healthy relationships don't collapse when clarity is added. They usually get stronger. Now, let's ease into another rule, and this one tends to hit people emotionally. It's about living arrangements. Many seniors assume that moving in together is the natural next step once a relationship feels solid. Less loneliness, shared expenses, someone there at the end of the day. All very understandable. But here's the curiosity spark lawyers see all the time. Moving in together can create legal ties even without marriage, depending on where you live and how you live together. Shared addresses, shared bills, shared routines, they all build a picture, and that picture can be used later to argue expectations of support, property rights, or decision-making authority. Even something as simple as helping pay utilities or contributing to home repairs can muddy ownership lines over time. This doesn't mean living together is a mistake. It just means it deserves the same level of thought you gave to major decisions earlier in life. At 25, you could afford to be a little careless. At 70, you've earned the right to be intentional. One of the healthiest things a couple can do is talk openly about space, finances, and independence before moving in together. Not in a heavy, dramatic way, just honest, calm conversations. Who pays for what? What happens if one person wants to move out? How personal property is handled? These talks aren't unromantic. They're respectful. And here's something reassuring. Couples who can talk about these things early tend to feel safer with each other, not less connected. There's comfort in knowing where you stand. There's peace in not guessing. As all of this unfolds, it becomes clear that dating after 70 isn't about avoiding love. It's about choosing love that fits the life you've already built. Love that adds warmth without adding fear. Companionship without confusion.
There's one last rule lawyers quietly hope seniors understand, and it's the one that often brings the biggest sense of relief once it's handled the right way. It's not about fear, and it's definitely not about expecting the worst. It's about peace of mind, the kind that lets you enjoy companionship without that little knot in your stomach wondering, what if something goes wrong? Here it is, plain and simple. Always put important agreements in writing, even when everything feels loving and stable. That might sound a little cold at first, but stay with me. Written clarity isn't a sign of distrust, it's a gift to both people in the relationship. At this stage of life, memories fade, circumstances change, and unexpected events happen. A written understanding protects against confusion later. It can be as straightforward as a cohabitation agreement, a simple financial outline, or updated powers of attorney that clearly state who does what and when. Lawyers see these documents not as romance killers, but as relationship stabilizers. Think of it this way. If you've spent decades building a life, raising a family, saving money, and creating routines that work for you, why would you suddenly rely on assumptions instead of clarity? Love thrives when expectations are clear. Stress thrives when they're not. I've seen seniors visibly relax once these things are handled. They stop worrying about what ifs and start enjoying what is. Dinners feel lighter, conversations feel easier. The relationship stops carrying silent pressure. That's not a coincidence. And now, let's gently bring everything together, because when you step back, these 4 rules all point to the same truth. Dating after 70 isn't about being guarded, it's about being grounded. You're not trying to build a life from scratch anymore. You're inviting someone into a life that already exists. Being mindful with finances protects your independence. Keeping legal documents current protects your family and your wishes. Setting boundaries around caregiving protects love from turning into obligation. And putting agreements in writing protects everyone from confusion later. None of this takes romance away. It actually gives romance room to breathe. If you're dating now or thinking about it, I want you to hear this clearly. You are allowed to want connection and security at the same time. You are allowed to enjoy companionship without sacrificing everything you've built. And you are absolutely allowed to move at your own pace, no matter what anyone else thinks. If any of this sparked a thought, a concern, or even a personal experience, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Many people watching are walking the same path, even if it feels lonely at times. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. And if this conversation has been helpful, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We share content like this to help you navigate aging with confidence, clarity, and dignity, without sugarcoating and without fear. Dating after 70 can be joyful, exciting, and deeply meaningful. With the right awareness and a little preparation, it can also be calm and secure. You've earned that balance. Here's to companionship that feels good in your heart and steady in your mind, and to living fully, wisely, and confidently at every age.